Frutiger Aero. It's sometime in 2005. Using your big toe, you start up the modem in your family computer room, which is alarmingly loud. Your dad should really take a look at that. You sit back and transcend into another world. The screen is bathed in a cool blue glow as you select your profile and step through the looking glass into an oasis of futuristic serenity. As the glossy icons appear, you burn your mouth on another pizza roll, feeling optimistic and the overwhelming impulse to log into MSN Messenger. We didn't know then what the world would look like now. But this atmosphere created a sort of digital design language that made everything feel like it's all gonna be okay. A feeling I pay a therapist a lot of money to help me find again. Out of pocket, of course. But it begs the questions, where did this Frutiger Aero aesthetic come from? Why is it so hard for people to pronounce? And what happened to it? Well, my nostalgic friends, we're about to find out. So put down that Wii controller, put up that away message, and let's take a deep dive into the rise, fall, and lasting legacy of Frutiger Aero. Like a lot of aesthetic movements in the early 2000s, Frutiger Aero wasn't widely recognized as a distinct design movement while it was happening. It was just kind of there, on our screens, in our ads, in the sleek futuristic branding of the time. Some called it Web 2.0 gloss, but this only covered a fraction of its influence. It wasn't until 2017 when Sophie Lee of the Consumer Aesthetics Research Institute gave it the name we know today. So let's talk about the name. Frutiger references a humanist sans serif typeface that was designed in 1975 by Adrian Frutiger. Adrian had originally gone to school to be a pastry chef in Switzerland, but fell in love with calligraphy. A tale as old as time. Before the era of digital design, Adrian Frutiger cut letters from metal and wood by hand, shaping their look long before computers took over typography. He believed in blending handwritten forms with geometric precision, making his fonts feel both modern and natural. And one thing about Adrian, he was very critical of Helvetica, Switzerland's most famous font, which had been around since 1957. He found it too cold and mechanical, so he decided to make his own. Thus, the font family Frutiger was born. And this typeface was meant to be clean, readable, modern, and was quickly used at airports and early tech branding. The Aero half of the name comes from Microsoft's Aero user interface, introduced in Windows Longhorn. Oh, you haven't heard of Windows Longhorn? You silly simpleton. Neither did I, because it was re-released after being renamed Windows Vista. Well, kind of. Longhorn became very complicated and unorganized internally. They ultimately scrapped it, came up with a new name and somewhat new operating system entirely, and that was Windows Vista. And thank God they changed the name. We can't compete with the outlaw ribeye. Not in these trying times. Not again. Okay, so Windows Vista. It was released in January of 2007. Look at all these excited pixel pioneers.
What was that? Okay, James.
Okay, Mr. Ruby Red Sweater is having the time of his life right now. You know what? I just looked it up, and that was literally the CEO of Microsoft. I gotta watch my mouth. You know, as a society, we don't do this enough. Remember when people would wait in line outside of Best Buy just to get an update? Now they literally happen overnight while plugged in on our nightstands without us even knowing. Anyway, Windows Vista brought us Microsoft's Aero user interface. You remember it, the translucent window borders, soft reflections, and that oddly satisfying glass effect. The combination of these elements, clean typography, glossy surfaces, and futuristic yet organic vibes, put them together and what have you got? Bippity boppity boom, bitch. Frutiger Aero. Grab your snorkel, babes. It's wet tech. Fish, butterflies, water droplets, rolling green hills, and swirling energy of orbs. A harmonious coexistence of nature and technology. The color palette is dominated by blues, greens, silvers, and pops of neon. Carbon footprint who? It's actually a serious problem and should not be joked about. The text, oh baby, she is rounded and smooth like a glass of 2003 Napa Valley Reserve. Yes, I'm picking up on notes of the future we were promised. It's liminal, and it smells like fresh cut grass and laundry detergent. It's actually so lovely and cleansing for this millennial soul. Let's take a second, let's take a minute and breathe it in. Oh, well, that was nice while it lasted. According to Frutiger-Aero.org, the Frutiger family tree is lush and thriving. We have so many subgenres here, like Frutiger Eco, which leans more green. It's in the name, you get it. I'm not going to insult your intelligence. Reduce, reuse, Rihanna. Frutiger Metro. To me, it's a lot less glossy, more flat imagery, some silhouettes, more like a Kidz Bop CD cover. Helvetica Aqua Aero. Ooh. Not the enemy typeface. This one is a favorite. It's very Finding Nemo on 1000. Dark Arrow, too spooky. And DORFic, which stands for Daylight, Orange, Red, Futurism, and Graphic. Not my vibe. Okay, early influences. As I literally just said, the origins of Frutiger Aero can be traced back to the early builds of Microsoft Windows Longhorn, which began its development in May 2001. We also had the influence of Mac OS X, which featured skeuomorphic design. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but I did look it up, and it's a style that makes digital objects look like real-world objects. The more you know. We already had Windows XP, and your profile picture actually said a lot about you. What your family computer user pic says about you. You cannot and will not mind your own business, but you do own your own business. Selling jewelry on Etsy. Your credit score may be low, but your vibes are high. Your favorite restaurant is Buffalo Wild Wings, and you do not brush your teeth at night. Are you okay? This was the guest account. You love to argue that Die Hard is a Christmas movie. You give the best advice in the tri-state area, but you never take your own. Gay. Gay. And elite. However, we have to stop making Harry Potter references. We get it. You're a Hufflepuff. You love to play the victim card. And this was Mom's account. Just a little blast from the past. So if you do a quick search of this aesthetic, a few repeating images appear time and time again. And this user from the Frutiger Aero subreddit actually discovered that a Korean company called Acidol Design had created these images, and they still currently live on their stock photo website. As the world transitioned after the dot-com bubble burst, Frutiger Aero began to emerge as a fresh, optimistic look that reflected the changing cultural landscape and technological advances of the early 2000s. An iconic relic of the past that's giving Frutiger Aero. You remember this, baby? The aquatic fish tank lamp. These divas are still swimming. By the grace of God, these divas are still swimming. And what was this thing? Let's talk about this. Taught me everything I know. Ask your father, sweetie. And let's give it up for this Hampton Bay 67-inch 5-light black gooseneck floor lamp with multicolored acrylic shades, which is also giving this vibe. And look at that. It is buy one, get one 50% off. Add to cart. In 2002, Super Monkey Ball 2 was released for GameCube. In this game, you would play as a little monkey inside an orb that had to make it to the finish line without falling off the edges. This game really embodied the early stages of this aesthetic. It was notoriously difficult and quickly taught me that when the going gets rough, I throw a controller and cry, which I did a lot. Also in 2002, Sonic Adventure 2 was published by Sega for the Dreamcast. Frutiger Aero was absolutely ingrained in this environment, especially in the introduction of the Chow Garden mini-game. Look at these little cuties. Now, did I think Shadow was hot? I don't see how that's any of your business. In 2004, the world was introduced to Booba. A sensory overload horror series which was created by Anne Wood, who was the same mastermind behind the Teletubbies. Anne wanted to make yet another visually stimulating movement-based show for young kids. So she cursed television screens around the world with these prima donnas. Frighteningly Frutiger Aero. And then there's every middle school criminal's favorite peer-to-peer file-sharing platform, LimeWire.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
It looks like LimeWire now has their own cryptocurrency. Okay, slay, I guess. Lest we forget about the soft soap animals. I'm so glad they're free, but I do miss them. This aesthetic gained significant recognition and adoption starting in late 2004 with the release of Windows Media Player 10.
Now dig this.
Oh baby, the hours we logged in here with Beyonce. At the same time, we also had the next generation of video game consoles like PlayStation Portable, Apple's iconic iPod silhouette advertising campaign, and the rise of shinier translucent web design trends. The aesthetic's popularity continued to grow in 2005 and 2006 with the release of Windows XP Media Center, Xbox 360, Nintendo DS Lite, PS3, and Nintendo Wii. The way Nintendo Wii knew how to humble me as a child should be studied. Wii Sports Resort. We love it. We really did. Wii is like a kingdom of Frutiger Aero, not just visually, but sonically. My aquarium. Look at this jolly marine life. And did anyone play Art of Balance? Mentally, I am here. Just a fleeting thought. Was I the only one who was actually wearing the wrist strap? Listen, I was a rule follower and I had one too many scuffs on the ceiling thanks to Wii bowling. My mom's mad. Very mad. Also in 2005, we had the iDog. Yes, I still have mine. Yes, he still works.
Plug in your tunes and iDog plays your music through his built-in speaker as he moves and grooves. iDog and accessories each sold separately. Batteries and music player not included.
The same year, the Pokemon Center in New York City rebranded as Nintendo World to commemorate the release of Nintendogs. Very Y2K, very Frutiger Aero, very sad that you haven't visited your Nintendog in well over a decade. They miss you and they're hungry. Though this aesthetic was mainly alive behind a screen, YouTuber Kylie Bogley found these images were in fact taken at a real place. These are from the mid-2000s at the O₂ Flagship Store in Munich, Germany. How dystopian. And then I came across the iSuite Hotel in Rimini, Italy. Even the dying grass echoes the shapes of the globe motif. Okay, it was done with purpose. I can make an excuse for anything, just ask my manager. Before we check in, we're gonna take a dip because I'm not staying here. I cannot afford it. We dip, then we dip, okay? The infinity pool. Even the branded names are just chef's kiss. And tell me this photo gallery doesn't look like an archived collection of liminal spaces. They even uploaded everything in low resolution. Let's take a little peek at the rooms. The penthouse. This is just out of my price range. The lover's suite. No need to make the bed. We're just gonna mess it up anyway. Not the Frutiger Aero highlight. iSuite is the only hotel with sea view that conceals magical modern love nests.
Okay. Whatever that means.
Look at this. Dolce Vista. Where are the outlets? That is my question. Where can I plug in my laptop? I know this is the vibe, but I'm gonna need an end table. I am. They gotta stop asking the employees to get in these photos. Like, take a seat. Why are you like rummaging around the hotel? I'm seeing motifs. How clever. I feel good spa. And how could you not? Someone get me a deep tissue bunion scrub. And cucumber crudité for these designer bags under my eyes. Thank you. Here's a thought. What if we just put our wallets together? Get on Groupon, we could find something. This could be life-altering for all of us. This hotel opened in 2008 and it remains fully functioning, unchanged, and thriving on TripAdvisor, apparently. And this is a post office. This post office features glossy surfaces, LED lighting, touch screens, curved glass. And this is my post office. Not exactly a hopeful utopia. This was the vibe of nearly every aquarium gift shop. Grab that weird paperweight with the blue goo inside. We need something to commemorate this aquatic captivity. It's very froyo. There was a frozen yogurt place called Kiwi when I was in high school. It got robbed. And what is this? Mr. Clean World. It looks polished, that's for sure. It is safe to say that Frutiger Aero had cemented itself as the leading digital design of this era. Between 2007 and 2013, Frutiger Aero reached its height of influence, showing up in nearly every aspect of visual culture, product design, and even advertising. And just like that, she fell from grace. So what happened? The rise of flat design in the early 2010s marked the beginning of the end for Frutiger Aero. And the introduction of Windows 8 was the nail in the glossy coffin for our Frutiger friend. Nintendo's Wii U was the last video game console to fully embrace this aesthetic, but its commercial failure further contributed to the aesthetic's decline. By 2013, with the release of Apple's iOS 7 and the growing popularity of minimalist design trends, Frutiger Aero had largely fallen out of favor. The world had shifted into an era of flat icons, monochromatic color palettes, and uniform geometric shapes. Tech companies prioritized efficiency, speed, and accessibility, and Frutiger Aero kind of felt cluttered and outdated. The flat design was simpler, easier to read, and more adaptable for mobile devices. While this shift made sense at the time, we kind of lost the depth and personality of digital interfaces. Frutiger Aero was more than just an aesthetic. It was a symbol of the time when technology felt full of possibility. It represented a world where digital and organic blended seamlessly. A world where interfaces had personality and where the future looked bright and exciting. There has been a bit of a resurgence, though. In 2022, it gained significant traction, which led to a renewed interest in the aesthetic. As with all things, nostalgia has a way of bringing aesthetics back into the spotlight, and in recent years, we've seen a growing appreciation for it. The subreddit, thriving, and naturally there's a small TikTok community that's celebrating the distinct look with fan-made themes, compilations, and even indie games that are embracing its glossy charm. And I gotta be honest, I felt a little hopeful when the official Microsoft and Windows accounts started interacting with posts about this aesthetic.
Is Frutiger Aero the best aesthetic? Frutiger Aero was a mid-2000s aesthetic featuring green fields, dewdrops, and utopic scenery. Windows Aero was the design language used by Windows Vista, fully embracing the organic, futuristic look. Looking back, we are grateful to have lived through this era of design. Do you remember Frutiger Aero?
But I don't think we will ever have a full comeback. And while it may have been pushed aside for the sake of minimalism, its legacy lives on in the memories of those who grew up with it. It's tacky to some, but nostalgic to me. And maybe that's why so many people like it, Maybe it's just because it reminds us of a simpler time. A time that felt like being stressed and scatterbrained wasn't possible, when the internet felt like a place of possibility, not just productivity. And maybe Frutiger Aero was never meant to last. But for a brief moment in time, everything was glowing, glassy, and just a little bit magical. And for that, I think it deserves to be remembered.